So, good morning, Wake Forest Baptist family. Hope you had as great an Easter as I had. And here we are on the other side of Easter now. The Gospel of John is interesting to me. John seems to have a hard time finishing a good story. And so you come to the end of chapter 20, and he kind of wraps all this up. And listen to what he says. It says, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name." So he kind of just seems to wrap it all up right there. And I don't know about you, maybe sometimes I have a hard time saying goodbye as well. I'm learning more about that these days. Sometimes you write a letter, you still got to say a little bit more, so you put that PS on the end of it. Sometimes it's hard to finish a good story. But here we are, a story he continues in chapter 21 because he just couldn't leave it at that. And so all this now in chapter 21 is happening after Easter, just like we are finding ourselves after Easter. Think about it, those disciples some years earlier, for 3 years at least, they have followed him, they have listened to his teaching, they have watched the miracles, and they have seen him hanging on the cross there. And now it's Easter, resurrection time. And what do? After Easter, they do exactly what probably so many of you are doing this week, going right back to the same old, going back to your same jobs, your same home, your same lifestyle, your same worries, your same fears, your same boredom, your same loneliness, whatever you're going back to again and again. And so you look at those fishermen, those disciples, what did they do? They went back to what they knew how to do. They went back to fishing. And so, really, had anything changed for them? Has anything changed for you? Because my bet is for a lot of us, Easter was wonderful, a high and holy moment, packed house on 10 o'clock, all the great experience. And here we are just days later. Has really anything changed? And so in John 21, it's really interesting. They've been fishing all night with no success at all. And so Jesus asked them, this former carpenter asking these professional fishermen, "So have you any fish?" It's kind of like that Dr. Phil question. Yeah, how's this working for you? Not doing so well, are you? And of course, the answer is no fish, no change, no joy, nothing really different at all. Just another night of empty nets. So they've gone back to doing exactly what they were doing before the women came from the tomb and announced, "He is not here." They've gone back to doing the only thing they knew to do. They've gone back to fishing. So have you ever felt a Bible story was maybe a story about your life? We know here a week after Easter, just a few days after Easter, how little has changed, how little is really different in our lives. But that's not the end of the story. Jesus said, "Okay, try casting your nets over on the other side. See what happens." If you know the story, after a long night of empty nets, they put it on the other side. They do what Jesus invites them to do, and they can't hold all the fish. The nets are bulging. A miracle takes place in their life. And so in John, a miracle is never just to get your attention. It's never just say, "Well, that was really cool. Isn't it neat what Jesus can do? And isn't it great how they got all the fish and had that experience?" A miracle is always a sign of something else. It's a message. And the message is, if it hasn't been working the way you, with what you've gone back to, then why don't you try my way? Why don't you try putting me into your life? Let the net down on the other side and let's see what happens. But Jesus is basically saying, why don't you include me? So Easter, we might want to say it's over. It's over on the calendar, but is Easter really over for you and me? Are we just back to the same old, just putting our nets down where there's no fish in our lives, where the emptiness still continues? We wonder why. anything is really different and why Easter doesn't have more of an impact on us. So instead of going back, Jesus is saying, and I love this in all the sad times of our life, the struggles of our life, the real question is not me, but I think the best question we can ask is, what's next? What's next? And Jesus is saying, okay, you tried everything. All the nets are still empty in your life. Why don't you try me? And so the message is not that Easter was an event 2,000 years ago or even a few days ago, but that Easter started something 2,000 years ago. It's not that the tomb was empty, but it is that the now risen Christ is very much alive. He's alive, so why don't we stop treating him like he's dead? Why don't we let Easter be something that we practice resurrection in the ordinary days of our lives? So let me ask you, do you have any fish? So how's that working for you?